The popularity of the Atlanta Braves was definitely in the south of the U.S., but that 1982 Western Division National League crown is kind of a head scratcher because they won 13 games to start the season, but for the rest of the year, there were a 500 squad, and despite the much talent they had on the team, including Bob Horner and Chris Chambliss, Claudell Washington, and Dale Murphy, they really folded against the Cardinals. So we're going to give a quick recap of the 82 season for the Cardinals. Now, in the offseason, Bobby Cox, who later went on to Toronto and later back to Atlanta, was fired, and Joe Torre, who was fired by the Mets, was brought in to replace. Now, Torre was an all-star catcher with the Braves back in the day, and what he did, he played like his own version of Billy Ball, a very, very balanced team. Didn't really make any sense why certain players were there, but there were role players. Now, the Braves, get this, won the division, 1 game over the Dodgers and 2 games over the Giants. So what really benefited them, actually, they had a better road record than a home record. Now, key players included Bruce Benedict, Chris Chambliss, who came over from the Blue Jays after the Yankee trade, Glenn Hubbard, Rafael Ramirez, very underrated, Bob Horner, Dale Murphy, Brett Butler, and Claudell Washington. Now, the idea about Atlanta that year, they had a very, very good pitching staff and a good bullpen. Now, that year, of course, Chambliss, Horner, and Murphy hit more than 20 home runs, and Horner, in less than 500 at-bats, had 32 homers and 97 RBIs. But the bench was strong as well with Brett Butler, Royster, Paul Runge, all the key players. Now, Phil Niekro had probably one of his best seasons ever with Atlanta, going 17-4, and was the key to Atlanta winning it. Rick Mailer, a very underrated player, 9-10. Bob Walk, 11-9, and Rick Camp as well in 51 games with 11-13. Now you had Garber, Bedrosian, and Hrabosky in the bullpen. Hrabosky mostly is a setup man, with Garber as the key one. And both Garber and Bedrosian had more than 60 games. Now, again, they were consistent in September, which led to the National League Championship Series. And they played terrible, ladies and gentlemen. They only scored 5 runs in 3 games. Now, they lost 1-0, 7-0 at Busch in the opening game, then lost 4-3 on a late run by St. Louis in the 9th inning. And, of course, it was off Garber. And the final game of all people, ladies and gentlemen, he was good luck for St. Louis. And Joaquin Andujar won a 6-2 decision for St. Louis in the only playoff game in Atlantic Fulton County Stadium before the big 90s dynasty. Now, how good were the 82 Atlanta Braves? Well, consistent enough to win the division. But like I said, they were not a team. They had 4 players that were role players and 4 or 5 players that were solid major league players. But it was a team of some cast-offs and some up-and-coming players. But any team, like, for example, Dale Murphy put up some tremendous numbers, ladies and gentlemen. 36 homers, 109 RBIs with a 281 average. But he could hit for average, and that's what really saved him, because he would score late runs, hit and run, stolen bases, very strong. But I think what benefited them in Fulton County Stadium, it was a Homer's Park, which really benefited Bob Horner. But to me, Bob Horner was the MVP of that year. His 97 RBIs and 32 homers were not expected, and that's what put it all together. So that was a Ted Turner style Atlanta Braves. The Turner later on, being the owner 10 years later, Turner didn't have as much as an impact, because it became, when Bobby Cox came back, it became more a Bobby Cox-led team. But we all know that Ted Turner hated a team that would lose, and he hated to lose money on a team he loved as much as the Braves. So, ladies and gentlemen, 82 Braves. Check out some of the videos on YouTube, especially the playoff games. It's quite interesting, and some of the best uniforms ever in baseball history. Thanks for listening. Bye.